Angel fans, actual games have been played. Oh, I love the sound of the crack of the bat and the pop of the mitt. Man, so good. Today we're recapping the games from this weekend. Plus, we're responding to Ron Washington's potential everyday lineup, and we're telling you the reasons behind it, according to Ron. It's time to get locked on with Mike and Jon, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you want to get back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come on over to YouTube, leave a comment. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can make every moment more. New customers join today, and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started.
Happy Monday to you, and thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every single day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is Jon, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother Jon.
Mike, it's our third season here at Locked On Angels. We've been fans of this team for years, and it's a pleasure and a privilege to be here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, for you, talking Angels baseball. We're so glad that you decided to join us and become an everydayer while you're at it. How about that? Hey, on today's show, Ron Washington shared what his potential everyday lineup would look like, and we're going to be asking, what's the reasoning behind that? What's he got in mind there? So we're going to talk about that coming up here. But first, Mike, let's talk about some actual baseball games. Spring training has started. Spring has sprung, and the Angels started out against the Dodgers on Saturday in a tie game, Mike.
Yeah, it's spring training, so doesn't really matter, right? Somebody said it's like that old TV show with Drew Carey. The points don't matter. The games don't matter.
Who's line?
Who's line, right? This game was sold out, Johnny, at Tempe Diablo Stadium. It was packed. Before the game, we got word that Rengifo had a little hamstring tightness, which is why he didn't play. And everyone calmed down. Rendon wasn't there because Wash said that he wasn't scheduled to play that day. He was scheduled to play Sunday. So relax when Rendon's not in there. He did play Sunday. We'll get to that in just a moment. But as far as this game, it did end in a tie, which, again, not really newsworthy. But what was newsworthy, Jon, is the lineup looks similar to what Wash said his everyday lineup would look like. We'll talk about that in a coming segment. But here's the lineup and what each player did. I'm going to focus on that first inning, Jon. Moniak was leading off, and he was the DH. And he started the game with a hit. Then Nolan Shawnoel batted second, first base, and he singled in his first at bat, moved the runner over to third. Jon, is this like the perfect start? And this is, I think, what you want and why Ron wants these two guys at the top of the lineup. But you can't ask for a better start than that, right?
It's a good start considering both those guys got on base and Mickey got all the way over to third on Shawnoel's single, which is a point in the pocket of Bo Porter and base running. Now, having said that, there was an issue in this inning with Shawnoel getting picked off at first base because he was too far off the bag once he needed to return on that Trout fly out.
Right.
They threw it home, and Shawnoel was standing there watching the play, and he didn't get back in time. So Mookie, who's actually playing second base now, tagged him out. Felt like a very last year kind of mistake, Mike. And this is why you iron out those things in spring training. And the nice thing is that you saw the conversation happen with Ron Washington immediately as Shawnoel got back into the dugout. Now, there was runners on and nobody scored, and that's not what we want from this team. Right. I mean, Mike Trout's in the perfect situation, and yes, he did get the first out on the fly out, but you got to hope that somebody behind him can pick up Trouty if he's not going to be able to drive them in. Now, to be fair, Stefanik was batting cleanup in this one because that would be where Rendon would be. Now, potentially it could have been Rengifo in this game, but again, he's got that quad strain. They're hoping that he's going to be ready by opening day. By all indications, it sounds like he will be. But yeah, they got three runners on base in that first inning and didn't score. Were Worried about that at all? Concerned? What do you think?
It is spring training. I also saw somebody had, I think, maybe commented on our Twitter page, like, are you worried about Neto and some of the mistakes that he has made so far? But we're 3 games in, and these are the moments where you can make mistakes. These are the moments where you iron some of that stuff out. And so I was grateful because it wasn't a continuous thing. It was something that just happened in the first inning. And then the Angels actually came through later on. And Johnny, the one that came through was the 8th batter in the order. He played right field. He goes by the name of Joe Adell. And the thing that we've talked about often on this show and just recently is his approach at the plate, not trying to yank something 450 feet out of the stadium, but to use the whole field and to use his speed. And John, the first at bat he has, Adell hits a triple and flies around the bases. Brandon Drury was on. He ended up scoring. And what I loved about it is that Adell picked his pitch. It was a fastball, belt high, and he crushed it. He didn't have to wait for a pitch. He wasn't just trying to attack like they went with that approach last year. He got a pitch where he wanted it in the zone, and he crushed it. And we know that Adell is great with fastballs in the zone. And again, he also showed great speed rounding the bases, and he did it again in his second at bat when he hit a double, another fastball about belt high, and he crushed it, Johnny.
Yeah. One thing to consider is what's the level of competition these guys are facing out of the gate. And in the first 2 innings, Mike, it was Tyler Glasnow.
Yeah.
Somebody who figures to be or will be in the Dodgers rotation. Of course, they traded for him from the Rays. They extended him immediately. That's somebody that we would have liked to have seen on the Angels, of course, but that didn't happen. But the fact is, you've got a tough pitcher on the mound in Tyler Glasnow, and the Angels putting on some offense was good to see. Now, regarding Joe Adell, he did hit one to left field. He did hit one to like left center. And so there is still a little bit of pulling there, right? And the emphasis has been use the whole field for Joe Adell. But at this point of spring training, and I know it's easy to get excited. I mean, Joe Adell's homered in his first 2 at-bats in 22 and 23 in spring training. So it is funny that it wasn't a homer, but it was more of what Wash wants him to do.
Yeah.
But what you said is exactly right. What I was paying attention to with Joe Adell was pitch selection.
Mm-hmm.
Which pitch did he decide to swing at? And both the triple and the double, triple-double, both of those that he chose were exactly the kinds of pitches that Joe Adell needs to be looking for
Pay
when
attention.
he's at the bat. And he also wasn't chasing anything out of the zone. He wasn't like swinging out of his shoes or anything like that. So to me, it all felt very positive in the sense that if these guys can just nail good pitch selection, and that's something that we haven't seen from Joe Adell, like that's going to be a big difference, especially against a guy like Tyler Glasnow. Now, again, most of these guys get 2 at-bats and then they're out. And so we quickly moved through the starters in the lineup to some of the backups. But Zach Neto, though, hitting 9th, Mike, playing shortstop, hit a sacrifice fly in the 4th. Again, another great moment of situational hitting.
I really like that because it wasn't just that Joe Adell came through. It was that Zach Neto came through later on. This is the stuff that we didn't see too often last season. We saw a lot of leaving runners on. We saw a lot of strikeouts, or we saw a lot of solo home runs. We didn't see situational hitting where we're hitting it into the gap and it's able to score a run. We didn't see sacrifice flies. We saw pop outs. And so that was another really good moment for the Angels for their offense. Johnny, Victor Madero started this game. And
that was
this is a guy who has a fastball between 96 and 98 miles an hour. He threw really well on Saturday, didn't he?
Yeah, struck out Mookie Betts in the first at bat out there. That was exciting to see. Again, level of competition is what you want to pay attention to here. And while Madero's, I don't know that he will figure into the Angels big league club to start the season, but he's certainly somebody who could come up and be out of the bullpen. I think we saw a little bit of that last year, maybe even a spot start. But listen, he held the Dodgers scoreless in the first and, had a 1-2-3 inning thanks to Nolan Shonowell with a great play over there at first. And then third baseman Cole Fontenelle replaced Stefanik because Stefanik left the game with some quad strain.
Yeah.
He threw it wide, but Nolan caught it and tagged the runner. He had 3 strikeouts over the 2 innings, finished off hitters when he had 2 strikes. Mike, I think
Say that again.
That's what I'm saying is he finished off hitters when he had 2 strikes, and that's a theme.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about it in the second game from Sunday versus the Royals. But just thematically, I was really paying attention to what the pitchers were doing on the mound and their pitch counts, and when they were attacking and when they were getting guys to swing and miss, when they were in pitchers counts. Great moment that came later in the game was Nick Jones, Mike. Nick Jones is somebody you and I mentioned last week that Angel fans should be paying attention to because he's a huge reliever on the mound. Why don't you talk about what happened with Nick Jones?
Yeah, so he was the 8th round pick in the 2021 draft for the Angels. He walked the leadoff hitter in a tie game in the top of the 9th. So Wash comes out to talk to him, not to take him out. He came out to talk to him. And then Jones strikes out the next batter and then ends the inning with another strikeout on the final batter. So they asked Wash what he said to Jones, which I found really interesting. He told Jones, bro, throw it over the plate because that's where the ball needs to go. And if they hit it, then they hit you, make them earn it. And I love this because in the 3rd inning, Erica Weston interviewed Ron Washington and they said, man, why are you in this game for so long? Like, what has given you such longevity? And Wash said, without missing a beat, he said, I teach. No matter who it is, I'm teaching and I'm helping others learn. And we saw that in the 9th inning, John. Now, I know that Jones struck out the next 2 batters, and that was great. If he didn't strike out the next 2 batters, we may not be talking about this moment. But I have a hunch that that's the Ron Washington effect. Him coming out and saying, stop nibbling, throw it over the plate.
It wasn't the pitching coach. It wasn't the pitching coach. Barry Enright wasn't going out there for like I thought either Gooby or Rendazzo said it on the broadcast. You see Barry Enright go out, it's probably like a mechanical thing or a technical thing. Wash going out there, it's just a conversation of, hey, here's what you need to do. And that's exactly what happened. And the other thing, Mike, is it was the 9th inning in a game that doesn't really matter.
Right.
And he took the time to go out there and talk to Nick Jones and say, hey, throw it over the plate, dude. You got good stuff. They're either going to hit it on the ground or you're going to beat them. And so just give it a shot. So that was that was really great to hear. Make them earn it is what he said. Yeah,
I love that. What a great start. I know there was a tie game. I know it's spring training, but I loved what I saw. I loved the energy that I saw. I loved Wash managing and teaching. I loved Barry Enright coming out there and talking with, I can't remember what pitcher he spoke with, but he came out, hand around the waist, just said, hey man, here it is. And you know what? It might've been, the new guy, the new lefty. Was it Adam Kolarczyk? I can't even. Kolarczyk. Thank you. I think it might have been Adam. Adam was missing. He came out, put his arm around his waist, and you could read Adam's lips, and he said, yeah, I know what to do. I'm sorry. Like you could just tell like he knew what to do. But Enright was so good with him in that moment. He's like, do this, take that step, go forward.
Here it is. Mama Ruffin at Bolts and Halos on Twitter. One of my favorite follows on Angels Twitter. She said, pitcher struggling. Pitching coach comes out to talk to pitcher. Pitcher gets out of inning with no damage. This is new. I thought that was the perfect way to sum it up. Hey, what a concept. The pitching coach comes out and then it doesn't fall apart like it's done the last couple of years. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels.
John, that needs to be the line every time. We just need to say, this is new.
This is new. Yeah. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen every single day. We're just getting started here on Locked On Angels. Coming up, Ron Washington shared what his everyday lineup is going to look like during the season. We're going to share what he said and then our thoughts on this potential lineup. Don't forget, guys, that the Angels play the Giants today at 12:05 Pacific time. You can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast on SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels, and we'll continue our conversations here in just a minute.
Today's episode of Locked On Angels is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. You can get a big dub with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. And right now, you can bet on all your favorite NBA players and NBA teams. Whether it be a quick bet or a same-game parlay or exclusive props, you can bet on the score. You can bet on assists. You can bet on who's going to score the most. You can bet on if Draymond's going to get kicked out of the game or not, although he's been behaving himself, which is really good. Hey, just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon, and you can get that dub. FanDuel is the official sportsbook partner of the NBA.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. Everydayers, don't forget, now that we're back, full swing of baseball season, you got to head over to Locked On Sports today on YouTube because it's the world's first 24/7 national sports streaming channel. Obviously, you're going to hear a lot of baseball talk on there, but also the top stories of the day from across the sports world. So head on over to Locked On Sports today on YouTube and hit subscribe and be part of the first ever 24/7 national sports streaming channel.
Angels lost a pair of games on Sunday, 1-0 to the Royals, and then 9-4 against the Reds. Let's talk about that Royals game first. This one was the one that was broadcast on Bally Sports. You mentioned this. It's funny to have Bally Sports back because you want to see what commercials they're going to repeat every single commercial break.
And the creepy transfer. Here's my problem with the Morongo transforming people.
That's your favorite. You have nightmares about that?
Like, the people transform into one person after the next, but then also, Mike, as the people walk through the casino, there's a screen wipe that also changes the person from one person to the next. Just use the screen wipe. Why are we doing weird Animorph AI transformations? Just the screen wipe makes all the sense of what you're trying to convey. Okay, on to the game.
It feels like we got a because we can commercial, right? We're just doing this because we can. We have the technology, right?
Yeah.
So this game was on Bally's. Let's talk about pitching first. Andrew Wentz was the opener for this game. He was on the mound, pitched 2 scoreless innings with 2 Ks. That was good to see. Did give up 3 hits in the second inning, but he did pitch around it. Love to see that. And
Mike,
then
different Andrew Wentz out there.
He did look
too.
different.
Yeah.
Yes.
In terms of, again, attacking the zone, using the right pitches at the right time.
Yes.
Just that mentality. I think we're already, you really got to pay attention because you might get lost, in between the pitches and the count and whatnot. But us nerds who were paying attention and really want the Angels to be good this year, pay attention to that pitch count and pay attention to what they throw in that count. Like, Andrew Wentz wasn't wasting time out there. I think that was a big difference.
Yeah, Drew Pomeranz came in. He was got a scoreless inning. We just recently signed him from the Padres to a minor league deal, so he's around. And then remember Hunter Strickland? When he came over from the Rays, we were all excited, and then he pooped the bed, and then he went to the Brewers and was so much better. He came into this game as well. He had a scoreless inning. It was good to see him actually come through. I was glad to see that. And it'll be interesting to see what the Angels can do with him.
Show, he comes over from the Rays, and we're excited to have him in relief, and then he stinks, and then he goes on to the Brewers and tears it up for them. So it says a lot about the Angels in 2021 and the Angels of the last 5-6 years, Mike.
Right. Kelvin Caceres came into the game, got into some trouble, had an error behind him, had a pass ball that led to an unearned run in the game. And then Carson Fulmer had 2 innings. Jimmy Herget had an inning, came in, gave up a single, 2 Ks and a flyout. And then Jose Marte had a flyout and 2 strikeouts.
Mike, another guy that really impressed me, Jose Marte. Now,
yes, I
totally understand that it's the level of competition by the 9th inning is, the Royals backups, the Royals prospects, that sort of thing. But here's the distinction I want to make for Angels fans. All the guys in the running for the bullpen this season, they pitched very well. I was most impressed with them attacking the strike zone and the way that they were getting into favorable counts. But when you brought up Jose Marte, that really set off alarm bells for me because this is a guy who throws really hard, has a really good fastball, but he has a lot of trouble hitting the strike zone consistently with that fastball. And he came out there and looked like much more confident, like such a more confident dude out there. So here's the thing, like the Angels, yes, they lost this game, but here's the key takeaways here. And it feels like there are pitchers here who are going to be part of the team in some way, whether that's with the big league club or waiting in the wings in AAA. They all looked really good in their innings. But like I was saying, it's less about who they're facing because at this point, again, a lot of backups, a lot of prospects from the Royals. It's more about how they handled their pitches and attacked the zone and worked into pitchers' counts. And Jose Marte hit the strike zone, dude. Like he fired it in there, and I was really impressed. It's like, I know it seems like really basic and really silly and really boring fundamental baseball, but good grief, guys. That's what we have needed the last few seasons is boring fundamental baseball. And Jose Marte is a perfect example of that because that guy couldn't hit the strike zone the past couple of years. Just so to see him go out there was really impressive on the game against the Royals.
Yeah. Aaron Hicks led this game off, followed by Nolan Shonowell, Mike Trout, and then Anthony Rendon was in the game, everybody. He made it. They both went over 2, Trout and Rendon. Each had a K against the Royals starting pitcher. And then Shonowell, I guess he's just continuing to have his on-base streak, John, because he's just getting hits every time he gets up there. Had a single the opposite way. He just looks so comfortable at the plate, and I'm so excited to have a full season from this guy and what he can put together in a full season. Man, he's going to be so good in this lineup, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And he added 15 pounds of muscle, Mike, which is exactly what we were saying. Like, this guy is 21 years old. He's going to add muscle. He's going to get bigger. Taylor Ward also had a nice opposite field single, dropped in behind first. Matt Thaiss had a nice single. I'm still keeping an eye on his swing. Both times he put the ball in play, it was good contact. There was a single and then there was a fly out, but there wasn't any counts that I could notice any real adjustments on his swing. So TBD on that. But Aaron Hicks doubled in his second at bat and then threw out a runner at home.
Got an arm
from right field, and Thaiss made a great play catching that ball and applying the tag. Zach Neto in the top of the third was part of all 3 outs. He made 2 great throws that you didn't feel like you were holding your breath when the ball went out to him. And then he caught a pop-up way out there next to Taylor Ward. Mike, I got to say, Cole Reagans is the guy that the Royals traded and received for Aroldis Chapman last year. 2 things. Thank goodness he's out of the AL West because it would be big trouble for us if we had to face him all the time. The guy throws heat. He's a lefty. He K'd 5 Angels across 2 innings, and his fastball induced 20 inches of vertical break. So when you throw a really slow slider and we're like, look at all that break that slider throws. Well, he's throwing a fastball and getting that 20 inches of break. But here's the thing. Cole Reagans is a great example of, you got some really good relievers at the trade deadline, like the Angels do on 1-year deals. The Angels aren't in it this season. They could ship all those guys off and potentially land themselves a Cole Reagans. So, that guy was throwing heat. Mike, in regards to the Reds game, one of the coolest things was Nelson Rada taking a walk to start the game, stole second and third as part of a double steal with Mickey Moniak. Miguel Sano had visa issues, so he had trouble getting to Arizona. However, he got to camp today and immediately played. And he did have 2 Ks and a hit by pitch. I got to say, Ron Washington was at the Reds game that wasn't on TV, and I immediately felt his presence missing from TV. So Ray Montgomery did a great job handling the managerial duties for the Angels-Royals game. But, Mike, there's something to be said about Ron Washington's presence in the dugout. And even as just a fan watching at home, I think that that's something that we're really going to appreciate come 2024.
Today's show is brought to you by our friends at eBay Motors. Passion and drive and patience, that helps you bring home the game-winning trophy, but it also keeps your car or truck or SUV alive. And eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and even level it up to peak performance with superchargers available, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and so much more. Whether you're into speed or power or style, eBay Motors has got you covered with over 122 million parts for your automobile. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with the eBay Guarantee Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit the first time, the right time, when you want it to fit, every single time, or your money back. I love that. And because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, you're not wasting a bunch of cash, and they have all the parts that you could ever need at prices you want. And it's really easy to turn your car into the MVP that you need and bring home that dub. So keep your car or truck or your SUV alive at ebaymotors.com. That's ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply. eBay Guarantee Fit is only available to U.S. customers.
Mike, we heard about Ron Washington's potential lineup going into 2024, the everyday lineup going into 2024, and where it currently stands. Now, of course, there's potential for it to change, but here is what was reported. I believe Jeff Fletcher, the OC Register, had it. Rhett Bollinger had it. But here is what that would look like come 2024. Rengifo and Moniak leading off. So, depending on the lefty-righty matchup, Shonowell would be in their second. Mike Trout would be third, which, I like. Anthony Rendon is batting cleanup. Taylor Ward is batting fifth. Drury is batting sixth. Logan O'Hoppe bats 7th. Now, depending on the matchup, Joe Adell or Aaron Hicks will be batting 8th. And then, of course, kind of your prototypical second leadoff guy, Zach Neto, batting 9th. Now, Rendon hitting 4th kind of raised my eyebrows. Mike, here's what Washington had to say. Let's actually go through what Wash had to say about this lineup construction, because I have some thoughts.
Yeah.
But let's read what Wash had to say. He was talking about Rendon hitting 4th. He said, I don't care that Rendon is no longer a power hitter. You don't have to be in the 4th spot and the 3rd spot to be a home run hitter. You've just got to be a consistent hitter, and that's what Rendon is. We've got to get him back to consistency. But in the middle of the lineup, that's where Rendon's going to be. Really, it's because of Rendon's ability to hit with runners in scoring position is what Ron Washington was pointing to. Over the last 2 seasons, he's got a 269 average with runners in scoring position, only 13 strikeouts across 110 plate appearances.
And Sean Noel is going to be batting 2nd, and Wash said he wants more speed at the top of the lineup, which is why he put Sean Noel at number 2, not for his speed, but for his bat. He said, the way that he can handle the bat, I think he can be a big asset for us in the second hole. We'll work it out down the line here in spring training, and we'll see where it goes. If anything changes, I'm quite sure you guys will ask me that question again. But right now, when we start, I'm going to put him in the second hole. And I actually really like him in the second hole, John.
Yeah, so far so good. You can't really complain about the results, Mike. Moniak and Rengifo leading off, Wash said he likes their approach and their speed. Now, Rengifo has been a stud at the top of the order, and he did that last season. He's improved at the plate with a 9.2 walk percentage and a 339 on base percentage. Moniak, though, has a 2.8 walk percentage and the 7th highest K rate at 35% with hitters among hitters with 300 plate appearances. Wash says he likes Trout at 3 so he can drive in runs. He believes that he can be a leader, that he could be a leadoff hitter, and Shawnoel will be on base for Trout a lot this season. So I think that is a plus there as well.
Neto's going to be batting 9th, and Wash said that Neto loves to turn the lineup over. He wants to be on the bag and score runs for the guys that are in front of him, but also behind him. Wash also said he'd rather have a set lineup and not too many platoons. The only exceptions, he said, will play into what he does with Theis and having him bat against righties, with O'Hoppe maybe DHing. And then he said he'll have the rotation of Hicks and Adell in right field. John, this is a lineup that was a bit different than what you and I shared on a recent episode and what everydayers suggested. Do you like it? Do you see the benefits? Any possible adjustments? What do you think?
I know Moniak got time leading off last season, but Mike, really his way aboard is a hit. Yeah. And that concerns me. He's not a walk guy.
Yeah.
He does have the speed at the top of the order. I look at the rest of this lineup and I go, yeah, in terms of speed and guys that you would trust at the top of the order, there's not really much there. Like, I know Taylor Ward has also led off, but we both know that Ward's numbers in the middle of the order are much better than at leading off. And the same is true about Moniak. The only guy here, Rengifo, is really the only guy who has proven to be a strong leadoff guy. I had Shawnoel number 1, but I understand the speed issue. Mike, my main concern, and this is why Wash is getting paid to do this and I'm not, is Rendon batting cleanup. I understand the guy hits with runners in scoring position, but look, I said this on my lineup that the 2 things Rendon still does well is get on base and not ground into double plays. And it concerns me. And you brought this up too. He doesn't have a lot of speed. So him at number 2, which is where I had him, is different from having him at number 4. What concerns me is Wash saying we're going to get Rendon back to who he was, back to the things he does well. And that's hitting with runners in scoring position. I understand that, that's what a coach does. That's what a manager does. They get these guys back to where they need to be. I just went with I'm going with a guaranteed thing here. And the 2 things he still does well are no ground into double plays and taking walks and getting on first base. So that was the only thing that was a question mark for me. And the Moniak leading off, I get it. I wonder how they will help Moniak improve at the top of the order. What are your thoughts on his lineup?
I love Trout at 3. If Trout isn't going to bat third, I think that there's a case to be made that Trout is your leadoff hitter. But I know that he's got a lot of power, and so you want him down in the lineup, and you get some runners on in front of him. I love him at third, John, because there's almost a guarantee that Sean O'Well's going to be on base for Trout almost every single time, right?
Yeah,
because
if not Moniak or Rengifo, yeah.
Absolutely. And I do like Rengifo at the top of the lineup. I think he's done a really great job. At least he showed in a small sample size last season being a leadoff hitter. I think that that's going to be a pretty powerful 1, 2, 3 to start in the first inning. Sean O'Well, I think, is going to be successful wherever you put him just because the guy can hit, but it makes sense to have him at that number 2 spot because what we saw on Saturday's game with the Dodgers, I think is something that we can continue to see this season where whether the first guy gets on or not, if he does get on, Sean O'Well gets a single and that guy's moving over to third and suddenly no outs, runners at first and third, and Mike Trout's going to figure it out. Mike Trout's going to knock somebody in or at least get a sacrifice fly.
Yeah, that was the thing that was missing was Trout's flyout was just really shallow, and it was the opposite way.
Yeah,
it went to right field, and so if he pulls that and gets a flyout or even something off the wall, that's going to be the difference there. I will say, despite my hangups about Ron Washington's lineup, seeing it in action on Saturday in that first game, really showed me how talented he is at extending this lineup.
Yes.
When you have Logan O'Hoppe batting 7th behind Drury, like there's some potential for power down there with O'Hoppe. For me, O'Hoppe was my cleanup guy, Mike. But the fact that you've extended this lineup with guys who can hit like Ward, Drury, and O'Hoppe as your 5, 6, 7, that's pretty daunting. That's a pretty daunting 3 in a row that you have to face, especially after you've just gone through Trout and, Rendon at 4th. Again, Rendon is dangerous with runners in scoring position. That's TBD. And again, he's only been in 1 game. It's a long spring. I am interested to see how they kind of massage this lineup and work that out. So I fully trust Ron to figure this out. But again, those are my concerns, but I do appreciate how much he's extended this lineup here.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Reminder, the Angels play today against the Giants at 12:05 Pacific time. And you can catch every pitch of the Angels' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels.
Hey, give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Whether you're watching or listening to today's show, come on over to YouTube, get in the comment section. It's the best way to get a hold of Mike and I. Mike, obviously, we're going to talk about the Angels-Giants game tomorrow, but what else do we have on deck for Locked On Angels on
John,
Tuesday?
I'm the notorious Mike when it comes to mispronouncing players' names. And so tomorrow, friends, my brother, who loves me, is going to help me with pronunciations of the Angels' current roster. It's why I love you, John. It's why I love doing Locked On Angels with you. So I don't want to sound stupid. I want you to come along with me so you don't sound stupid. This is going to be fun. Join us tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
All right, we're looking forward to that. And again, our recap of today's game as well. All right, Mike, we're signing off here until tomorrow's show. My name is John, and that's my brother, Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother, John.
Thanks for being here with us, everybody, and we'll see you back here on Tuesday.
Mike. I can't even sing it.
Well done.